child embodies our ultimate vision, that every Filipino learner will realize their full potential and ultimately reach their biggest dreams, no matter how high, no matter how hard, through quality education. And as our learners aim to soar, we must continue to elevate our goals. Rising, the kite is our emblem of aspiration to deliver the brand of quality in Philippine basic education. The quadrants of the soaring kite symbolize the key reform areas in forwarding this cause, as we embark on this aggressive reform to yield upskilled teachers, well-developed curriculum, improved learning environment, and responsive multi-stakeholder cooperation. Using the colors of our flag, the logo symbolizes our unity and serves as a reminder that it takes a nation to educate a child. Together, we as a nation will have to move forward and gain more momentum so that our vision of quality basic education for all shall take flight. Sama-sama sa pagsulong ng edukalidad.
Well, hello, Mrs. Morgan. Remember how hard it was to get your students' attention? Oh, Mr. Jeski. Any explosive ideas? And you, Mr. Fisher, the world keeps turning, right? Okay, we're past all that, because now we have Microsoft Educator Center. Trainings, courses, webinars, programs, badges, points, certificates. Join now and get yourself ready for the new school year. Teach your best.
Nang sumiklab ang giyera sa Marawi, maraming buhay at kabuhayan ang nawala. Maraming kabahayan at paaralan ang napinsala. Sa kabila ng matinding suliranin, naging matagumpay ang DepEd na mabigyan ang mga mag-aaral ng pagkakataong ipagpatuloy ang edukasyon at muling bumangon sa sitwasyon. Habang naghihintay sa pagkumpuni at pagsasaayos ng mga paaralan, nagkaloob ang DepEd ng mga temporary learning shelters, remedial classes, learning kits, at feeding programs para sa mga displaced learners. Nabigla ang lahat sa pag-alboruto ng Bulkang Taal. Libo-libong pamilya, kabilang ang mga guro at mag-aaral, ang nawalan ng tirahan at mga ari-arian. Mabilis ang naging tugon ng DepEd upang makapagpatuloy sa pag-aaral ang mga apektadong mag-aaral. Sinikap ng mga guro na turuan ang mga mag-aaral na pansamantalang tumuloy sa evacuation center. Tumama sa bansa ang COVID-19 pandemic, dahilan upang maantala ang normal na daloy ng pamumuhay at trabaho sa lahat ng sektor, kabilang na ang kagawaran ng edukasyon. Nang ipatupad ang Luzon lockdown, inilunsad ang DepEd Commons upang tuloy ang pagkatuto ng mga learners habang nasa bahay. Sa kabila ng mabigat na hamon sa ilalim ng new normal, patuloy na nagpunyagi ang DepEd upang maghanap at maghatid ng mga alternatibong pamamaraan upang magpatuloy ang edukasyon sa pinakaligtas at pinakaangkop na paraan. Sa ilalim ng Learning Continuity Plan, layunin ng DepEd na magpatuloy ang edukasyon nang hindi nakokompromiso ang kapakanan at kalusugan ng mga guro at mag-aaral. Isusulong ng DepEd ang tatlong pangunahing layunin: angkop na proteksyon, kaugnay ng mga health standards at safety protocols para sa ligtas na school year, patuloy na edukasyon sa pamamagitan ng blended learning, distance learning at homeschooling na angkop sa kapasidad ng bawat mag-aaral, at mabisang aksyon sa pakikipagtulungan sa lokal na pamahalaan at mga partner organizations upang maihatid ang dekalidad na edukasyon para sa lahat. Bawat DepEd division ay bumuo rin ng sarili nilang Learning Continuity Plan upang gabayan ang mga guro, mga magulang at mga mag-aaral sa bagong pamamaraan ng pag-aaral gamit ang online, modular at TV and radio-based instructions. Gamit ang iba't ibang learning modalities, nagdaos ng dry run ang mga paaralan sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa, katuwang ang mga local government units at mga education partners upang maging handa sa bagong sistema ng edukasyon. Isinagawa rin ang mga pagsasanay at oryentasyon sa mga magulang upang maging epektibong katuwang sa pag-aaral ng kanilang mga anak. Sa anumang hamon o sitwasyon, handa ang DepEd. Handang kumilos, handang tumugon, at handang magserbisyo.
Ang dami ng mga pagsusubok at challenges ang naharap at napagtagumpayan ng ating Department of Education. Tuwing may pagsusubok, priority palagi natin ang ating learners at ang ating mga teachers sa tulong ng parents at saka partners at ang buong bansa. Ngayon, sa hinaharap natin itong new normal na sinasabi nila, matatag ang ating kagawaran, matatag ang DepEd, dahil pinagtibay na tayo ng panahon, kayang-kaya natin ito sa tulong ninyo.
G'day everyone, I'm Mark. As a teacher and a former principal, I know that professional learning often comes at the end of a very long day. But there are exciting, less structured ways to be in the driver's seat of your own lifelong learning. A great place to start is by engaging with our Microsoft Innovative Educator, or MIE community. This global community is big, in fact it's enormous. Our MIEs love connecting. Monthly tweet meets are global gatherings of inspiring educators around big topics, and their Facebook group acts as a persistent home for discussions and shared activities. Another way teachers are learning within communities is through Microsoft Teams. Now, greater teacher collaboration improves teaching across schools, and Teams is the ultimate platform for a professional learning community. It's open-walled and socially embedded, so you can incorporate your OneNote Staff Notebook PLC and have access to all the goodness of video chat, phone, and collaboration tools. With Immersive Reader built in, it's inclusive and accessible on any device. Your learning community is just a click away. Last tip, our Microsoft Education Centre offers great ways to gain new skills with courses tailored uniquely to your needs. Make it a collaborative experience by picking a MET course to do together with your peers. And as a bonus, you can practice collaborative learning by exploring a research paper, like the Class of 2030, and treat it just like a book club with your colleagues face-to-face or in Teams. The link to that research, it's in the description. Remember, learning is socially embedded. It's best done together for students and for teachers. Happy learning.
year 2020 brought new beginnings for the Department of Education. Ready to pivot towards attaining quality education, DepEd was hopeful of the challenges ahead of it. But as DepEd continued to work on its commitment, the world suddenly faced a steeper dilemma. Around the globe, countries like the Philippines had to shift their priorities to respond to a public health crisis brought by COVID-19. Schools had to be closed, activities had to be halted, graduation ceremonies had to be canceled, as people were urged to stay at home. A new normal dawned upon us. As soon as DepEd realized the impact of these disruptions in education, it began to proactively craft its learning continuity plan last April to ensure that learning opportunities will still be available. Consulting with partners and advisors through the Education Forum, as well as legislators, teachers, parents, learners, and the general public, DepEd made sure its LCP encompasses the concerns of the whole education sector in responding to the crisis. Its topmost priority being the protection of the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel. To make informed decisions, DepEd first analyzed relevant data and epidemiological picture for the incoming school year. DepEd also issued guidelines on its required health standards to be adopted in all public and private schools and DepEd offices following DOH and IATF protocols. It covers 4 COVID-19 mitigation objectives, namely, to increase physical and mental resilience, reduce transmission, reduce contact, and reduce duration of infection. The LCP also outlined how learning continuity will be ensured. It streamlines the K-12 curriculum into the most essential learning competencies and allows the use of distance learning, homeschooling, and blended learning modalities. Since conducting face-to-face classes will be a risk in most areas, DepEd has anchored its delivery of education to modular, online, TV and radio, or a combination of all. Guided by teachers, modular learning will allow learners to use self-learning modules in a format applicable to learners' capacity. In online distance learning, teachers will facilitate and engage learners' participation through the internet, whether synchronous or asynchronous. TV and radio-based instructions, on the other hand, are converted lessons fit for the broadcast medium. The LCP assures that all our learners, including our SPED, ALS, Madrasa students, can still access education even within the confines of their homes, and ensures that their household capacity will not hinder their right to education. To make this possible, our joint Brigada Eskwela and Oplan Balik Eskwela is assisting the preparations for the rollout of the LCP. On May 8, the LCP was approved by the IATF. The President also gave it his full support and expressed his commitment to meeting the financial demands of its execution. The implementation of the LCP will not be easy. It is not a perfect plan, and complications can be expected along the way. But extraordinary times call for extraordinary and proactive measures, and the Department of Education is ready to address the challenges along the way with the help of our national and local government, partners, parents, and learners. As one nation, learning opportunities shall be available in this brave new world for our Filipino children.
When you need the focus to be on you and not whatever that guy's doing, open Teams.
Subukan mo! Tutal nawasak na naman namin ang lahat ng ari-arian nyo!
Sa totoong buhay, totoo ang pinsala ng giyera. Mula noon hanggang ngayon. Para limitahan ang kalupitan ng giyera, nagkaisa ang mga bansa 70 taon na ang nakalipas upang itaguyod ang Geneva Conventions. Ang Geneva Conventions ay kinikilala ng buong mundo bilang bahagi ng International Humanitarian Law na nagtatakda ng mga patakaran ng giyera o the rules of war. Ayon dito, huwag gawing target ang mga sibilyan at kanilang mga ari-arian. Tratuhin sa makataong paraan ang mga nabilanggo at protektahan ng mga doktor, nurse at mga ospital para paglingkuran ang mga sugatan at may sakit saan man panig sila nagmula. Alamin ang Geneva Conventions. Bisitahin ang www.therulesofwar.org.
Hi guys, so I just came from a meeting and I was just told that I would be leading this fundraising concert for International Students Day. And I have to present the plan to the school board next week. Okay, I'm going to need some help. Let me create a team space and invite my dream team. Sia, she knows all about the budgeting and stuff. Ivan, he knows all the kids from the performing arts group. Aisha, she worked on getting sponsorship last year. And Sam, because he's so cute. Let me lay out all tasks in Planner and kick things off. So, I'm almost done with my event concept and inspiration board. I just need Ivan to do some final tweaks and plug in the repertoire. Budget from Sia? Check. Sponsorship plan? Check. Done! Whew! When you start using Microsoft Teams, teamwork really does become easier. So now I'm heading over to present the plan to the school board. Wish me luck!
De Luna,
Present!
Herrera,
Present!
Valera.
Present!
Handa ba tayo sa school year 2020?
Present!
Ngayong taon, ang edukasyon tuloy pa rin. Sa tulong ng DepEd, mga guro at mga magulang, ang handang isip, handa bukas. Tuloy-tuloy ang pag-aaral. May mga modules para sa iba't ibang antas. Sa government TV, maging sa radyo. Mahalagang ligtas ang ating mga estudyante at guro. Kaya kahit nasa bahay, tuloy ang edukasyon. Kung tulong-tulong, may paraan, may aralan.
Handang isip, handa bukas.
Bisitahin ang DepEd Philippines sa Facebook at ang deped.gov.ph.
If you spend more time tracking down files than actually working on them, open Teams.
The COVID-19 pandemic has brought unprecedented changes to our usual ways of living. But the Department of Education remains unfazed by these challenges to fulfill the mission of Sulong Edukalidad, the rallying call for national effort to deliver quality basic education to all Filipinos, which involve aggressive reforms in the 4 key areas: the K-12 curriculum review and update, improving the learning environment, teachers upskilling and reskilling, and engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration to move forward together as we prepare the education system for the future. The call for Sulong Edukalidad will continue, and we have built the framework of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, or the BELCP, to put the needs of the learners at top priority. DepEd's BELCP is the major response and commitment to protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel. The plan aims to provide opportunities to continue education even in these trying times with a BELCP in place, supported by an unprecedented number of diverse stakeholders from the academe, media, industry groups, NGOs, business and private individuals. Sulong Edukalidad will be able to sustain the aims in its reform for quality basic education. In our journey towards quality education, we have established the 4 pillars of aggressive reforms from the start, and we have been continuing to progress in these pillars. In improving the learning environment, we took action in the construction and rehabilitation of school buildings, ensured the availability of learning materials and equipment, and prioritized our last mile schools. The challenges of the pandemic also brought to light the urgent need to upgrade our ICT infrastructure to service the needs of education. In terms of the teachers' upskilling and reskilling, we were able to establish more innovative professional standards for teachers and school heads. We have aligned the professional development of teachers with their career progression to track their development as part of the National Educators Academy of the Philippines transformation. With the launch of the Education Futures program, where we will be focusing on innovative actions and solutions to improve the state of our education, we are now more than ready to start a new journey and continue our fight for quality education for all Filipino learners. Finally, we've given high importance to the engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration. In support of this, we have convened the Philippine Forum for Accessible Quality Basic Education, or the Education Forum, which will leverage other partnerships for education quality and strengthen partnership with the Philippine Normal University as the country's National Center for Teacher Education. The department has also been developing a professional development program for teachers and school leaders in order to equip them with the skills, materials, and data that will allow them to help their students prepare for PISA 2022. This intervention consists of the following components: online training for teachers and school leaders, development of learning materials and practice tests for students, deepening the analysis of the PISA 2018 results, and supporting school-level action research. Now that the year is about to end, our commitment to Sulong Edukalidad will continue and will be far from being gone. With a lot at stake, considering our new knowledge and experience from this year's challenges, we are equipped to face a new future. As we head on to the future where we will face many challenges and uncertainties, the department will always be the guardian of every Filipino learner's right to education.
Sino ba ang hindi naapektuhan? Sino ba ang hindi nag-alala? Sino ba ang hindi nalito? Lahat tayo ay naapektuhan. Lahat tayo ay nag-aalala. Lahat tayo ay nalito. Dahil binago ng pandemyang dulot ng COVID-19 ang paraan ng pamumuhay ng lahat ng mga Pilipino saan mang sektor ka nabibilang. Tumigil ang panandalian ang ating mga nakagawian. Tumigil ang lahat ng uri ng transaksyon. Tumigil ang lahat ng operasyon ng mga paaralan. Nakalilito. Nakakaba. Paano na ang kinabukasan ng mga kabataan? Paano na tayo sa hinaharap? Opisyal na nilulunsad ng Kagawaran ng Edukasyon sa pangunguna ng Office of the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction ang DepEd Teaches. Ito ay isang online na programa na gagabay sa mga guro, tagapangasiwa, magulang at mag-aaral hinggil sa mga pagbabago sa batayang edukasyon ngayong new normal. Ang DepEd Teaches ay angkla sa sulong edukalidad na nakatuon sa apat na pangunahing pangangailangan ng mapunyaging reforma tungo sa makalidad na pagtuturo at pagkatuto. Una, pagre-review at pagsasapanahon ng kurikulum ng K-12. Ikalawa, pagpapaunlad ng kapaligirang pampagkatuto. Ikatlo, paglinang ng mga bagong kasanayan sa mga guro. At ang ikaapat, ang pakikipag-ugnay sa mga stakeholder para sa suporta at kolaborasyon. Sa pamamagitan ng virtual learning platform, ang DepEd Teaches ang magsisilbing bukas na komunidad ng pagsasanay na titipon sa mga guro, tagapamunong pang-edukasyon at sa sinumang may pagnanais sa pagtataguyod ng kalidad na edukasyon sa bansa at sa pagtagumpay ng bawat Pilipinong mag-aaral. Ang mga opisyal, education specialist, learning content expert at outstanding teacher ng DepEd ang magiging tagapanayam na magbabahagi ng kanilang kaalaman at kasanayan sa kurikulum, pagtuturo at pagkatuto, pagtataya at lahat ng kaugnay na mahalaga sa proseso ng pagtuturo at pagkatuto sa new normal. Bilang mga frontliner ng classroom, inaasahang magiging aktibo ang mga guro sa programang ito. Ang mga tema at paksa ay angkop sa kanilang pangangailangan at konteksto sa pamamagitan ng accessible na platform, ang social media. Sumali na sa OUCI family sa DepEd Teaches kung sama-sama mapahuhusay pa ang mga guro, kung sama-sama higit na malilinang natin ang mga mag-aaral.
A pleasant afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 7th episode of DepEd Teaches. Who would have thought that new normal will pave way to expanded learning opportunities that allow us to build a professional learning network, just like what DepEd Teaches is trying to offer us. Free, accessible, relevant online platform for various informative talks. Remember, our mission here is empowering teachers, enabling learners. And perhaps by now, you have a strong recall of our tagline. To all our viewers, we are pleased that you are here with us again, and we hope you've joined already in our official Facebook page, DepEd Teaches. Don't forget to share DepEd Teaches Facebook page because with one click, you are in a way helping fellow educators to keep them abreast on the latest trends and issues in education. Good afternoon to my co-host, Sir July. So far, what do you think about our first theme for this year, K-12 curriculum and planning, that encompasses episodes 5, 6, and 7?
Good afternoon to all. Personally, Ma'am Ana, I think our first theme is very significant because K-12 curriculum and planning is like a core of our instruction. And with the active role of our teachers, they give life to the curriculum. And so here in DepEd Teaches, we hope that our viewers would feel inspired and motivated to apply and connect their learning in every episode to their teaching profession. We must not miss any episode, for each segment offers wisdom from our stellar roster of speakers, none other than the best instructional leaders and outstanding teachers in the field. Never in a million years we would have thought that we can create an online community as big as this one that addresses the pressing needs and interests of our teachers to provide support in their instruction. After all, our ultimate goal is to help learners succeed, and this can be done if we empower and help our teachers. To our loyal viewers, again, we invite you to keep on sharing our official Facebook page, DepEd Teaches. Tell your friends, colleagues, and even your family members to watch and support DepEd Teaches. We hope that you will actively participate in every episode every Thursday.
Wonderful, Sir July. I agree with you. You know, I remember that old saying that sharing is nice. So spread the good news about DepEd Teaches. Invite your friends to like and follow so more people will be informed.
At this point, let us encourage our viewers to write in the comment section in the FB page their answers to our two open-ended questions. Later, we will try our best to read randomly selected comments before we close the episode. Again, we would like to invite our viewers to key in their answers in the comment section to these two open-ended questions that we will be flashing. Okay? And we are giving 30 seconds for each question. Okay, for question number 1, what specific learning resource, like an online tool or application, have you recently discovered and learned to use this new normal that helps you in conducting and facilitating distance learning modalities? Again, what specific learning resource, like online tool or application, have you recently discovered and used in your classes in this new normal that helps you in conducting and facilitating distance learning modalities? So again, we're giving 30 seconds to our viewers to key in their answers in the comment section.
All right. So for the second question, again, you have 30 seconds to share your thoughts. And don't forget to use the hashtag DepEdTeaches Episode 7. So for the second question, share one guiding principle or strategy that you deem very important in preparing your learning resource material. So for example, do you consider the vocabulary or language you use in writing your learning resource materials? Or do you consider the aesthetic value of the material? Or do you consider giving authentic examples? So give one principle you consider most important in preparing your learning resource material. All right, so thank you to our viewers. We will try to read your comments before we end. So now let's meet our esteemed resource person. R.D. Wheely, as he is fondly called, is currently the Regional Director of DepEd Region 4A Calabar Zone. He holds a degree in Bachelor of Science in Education major in Mathematics and later earned his master's degree in the same field. He studied Doctor of Philosophy in Calapan City and also took up doctorate in Educational Management at De La Salle Consortium. R.D. Willie rose from the ranks as an educator. From a humble teacher, he became a head teacher in Oriental Mindoro. In 2003, he got promoted as education supervisor and in 2006 as assistant school superintendent in DepEd Oriental Mindoro, which led him to the right kind of people and experiences. His professional journey as school's division superintendent for 3 years in Occidental Mindoro developed in him the right keen and sense on working with people, bringing about great ideas that later on would be beneficial for his executive stint in the National Capital Region.
In 2013, he began to set off big differences in the school's division of Valenzuela City, and later on assuming the concurrent post in 2015 as the OIC of the Office of the Assistant Regional Director. In Manila, he spearheaded results-oriented programs geared towards the underprivileged, like the Kindergarten Catch-Up Education Program, which provided unschooled children an opportunity to receive formal schooling. He assumed the office of the regional director after Dr. Ponciano Menguito's retirement in 2017. R.D. Willie dedicates himself in the service of the Filipino youth for the promotion of better quality of education. Please welcome the Regional Director of Region 4A Calabarzon, Director Wilfredo E. Cabral.
Good day, teachers and fellow educators. Welcome to episode 7 of DepEd Teaches. I am R.D. Willie Cabral of DepEd Calabarzon. Today, our focus is about learning resources for distance learning modalities, particularly on selecting, preparing, and utilizing materials. But before we move further to the discussion, allow me to put context in this episode. With our relentless effort to improve the quality of education, the Department of Education launched Sulong Ito Kalidad to address recurring issues that will promote the quality of learning outcomes. The Sulong Ito Kalidad is a rallying call for national effort. Regions and all other layers of DepEd governance support the call. This is manifested in several efforts in contextualizing initiative as we pivot from access to quality. In DepEd Calabarzon, Pivot 4A is the translation of this national call. It follows the ICLEA framework for intent, competencies, learning experience, and assessment, an encompassing strategy to address quality outcomes. Pivot 4A is anchored on 4 strategic thrusts to align, advance, amplify, and appraise or apprise stakeholders for unified effort. Today's episode deals with the learning experience component of the ECLEA framework, the design, preparation of learning plan appropriate to the learning delivery modality, as well as the learning materials needed to carry out the plan. During the launch, no less than the Secretary Leonor M. Briones affirmed the significance and roles we teachers and educators play. He said, and I quote, "As I have said many times, the battle for quality basic education will be fought and won inside the classroom by our teachers." In the current situation, the statement does not lose its meaning. We recognize our teachers for their untiring effort to make schooling and learning happen. While the definition of classroom has changed, still remarkably, the interaction matters between the learners and teachers in a learning space available or chosen. To put concrete meaning, allow me to present discussion points to further understand the direction of this episode. Here, we shall look into curriculum and most essential learning competencies. Not the curriculum per se, but how we see and understand it. To walk through the process of instructional design, considering prior knowledge and learning agenda, which impact the selection of suitable learning materials. Finally, we want to look at some key considerations on the subject at hand. We already come across with the trilogy of the teaching learning process. These are the three elements that are connected, interrelated to one another in the landscape of teaching learning. We look at the curriculum with a simple definition of being a course or study. But as we look deeper, it is a selection of relevant content structured in the learning context. It covers aims, objectives, teaching content, strategies, assessment methods, and other components of learning and teaching. Curriculum is connected to instruction. It defines the direction in which teaching content are carried out in the learning or instructional plan for the transfer of learning. It deals with the pedagogical approaches within the appropriate theories of learning. It is where we satisfy the standards for the different phases of learning. Assessment, on the other hand, refers to the wide variety of methods or tools that teachers use to evaluate, measure, and document the academic readiness, the learning progress, skill acquisition, or educational needs of students. Assessment is also used to identify individual student weaknesses and strengths so that teachers can provide specialized academic support, educational programming, or even social services. All these three elements go hand in hand to ensure the demonstration of learning. Moving further, Perkins in his book FutureWise made mention about the small world paradox. The recent phenomenon of buzzing connectivity in today's world make the world smaller, but the worlds we individually engage become more numerous and complex. The worlds of online and digital lives, worlds of information and entertainment media, e-books, e-travel, online conferences, and so many others. With this development, the traditional hierarchical arrangement and organization of what is deemed important to teach and to learn may not mirror the reality of today. Traditionally, on one hand, curriculum is organized in terms of discipline, such as math, history, and science. And in each of these disciplines, the teacher in a textbook offers primarily wisdom and its content, but this may not be meaningful in the seemingly limited interaction among students. On the other hand, we can view curriculum as a network where disciplines are developed in an interdisciplinary relationship with one another. This makes the curriculum richly connected to the life and the world problems and opportunities as 21st century skills inform the learning process. And in the same vein, teachers interact richly in the key informant source of textbook has already exploded to include the diversity of sources of digital and printing technology. Student interactions become increasingly evident, largely not only in the academic context, but in the context of the real world. To emphasize the significance of the assertions, we can aptly say that the way we see and understand our basic education curriculum impact the way we teach, and that's instruction, and the manner we document and measure the learning in terms of assessment. So it impacts on the instructional design, the choice of learning materials, adaptive to the learning delivery modality. A closer look at the K-12 enhanced basic education curriculum shows the content is an array of discipline across level of education. The birth of most essential learning competencies gives rise to the concern of diligent preparation of learning materials. As shown in the circuitry, these MELs are organized based on its value and importance in the sequence of teaching and learning episodes. Thus, our understanding of the interconnectedness of the discipline and its most essential learning competencies to be taught matter on the selection, preparation, and utilization of learning resources, appropriate as well on the modality of delivery. The development of teaching learning materials is regarded as one of the major aspects that would promote student learning and help in the achievement of academic goals and objectives. These teaching learning materials are tools and resources aimed primarily to motivate learners, provide assistance, and support learners to achieve academic outcomes. Learning materials may come in various forms like SLMs or the self-learning modules, activity sheets, audios and videos, textbooks, charts, models, slides, computers, and many others. These resources have their own value and varied impact to each learner in each of the modalities we employed in this new normal. But basically, as a design process, it follows a system of assessing or determining the needs of the learners, defining the goals and objectives of instruction, designing and planning assessment tasks, and designing teaching learning activities to ensure quality of instruction. It provides practical and systematic approach for effectively designing curricula and learning resources rooted on instructional theories and models to design and develop content, experiences, and other solutions to support the acquisition of knowledge or skills. Above all, it requires the analysis of the selection of most appropriate strategies, methodologies, and technologies to maximize the learning processes and experience and transfer of knowledge. As educators gear with the new normal setup, this is the appropriate time to use our discomfort to forge a new paradigm in preparing and developing learning resources. This is the right time for schools to ensure that we teachers do not just translate what they do inside the classroom into our online teaching, and more so, with the teacher-driven discussions and lengthy lectures that are no longer the norms in the absence or during the face-to-face modality. In online distance learning, for instance, learners are almost always divided on their focus, that of their classes and their attention to their mobile gadgets. Hence, there is a dire need for a paradigm shift for teachers to address the challenges and for teachers to venture into innovations and breakthroughs in teaching and learning delivery. With this, our teachers shall innovate to deliver the curriculum in various modalities by being not only an issuer of educational content, but as a master curator of learning resources through designing efficient and effective synchronous and asynchronous learning activities for continuous engagement of learners. In this new normal, all of our teachers in the preparation of the learning modules, the HWLP, lesson exemplars, learning activity sheets are indeed instructional designers. They are the architects of the learning experience and the directors of the instructional system design process. Simply put, the creation and utilization of learning resource material for a particular MELC revolve around these factors. We must look, of course, at prior knowledge. What are the important knowledge, content, skills, and values necessary for the fruition of the learning objectives? In similar vein, to what intent does the MELC serve its purpose? Based on learning agenda such as achievement, information, or expertise. Perkins once again amplified that learning agenda gaps in relation to relevance gaps should be considered. Put simply, it means that learning agenda should bring learners somewhere in the learning continuum, and that should be worthy and relevant as emphasized in the network curriculum rather than on a nice-to-know level of learning. With blended distance learning currently implemented, here comes now the decision. Are we going to create or adapt available learning material? Whatever decision is made, we must look into two things. In doing so for any modality this time, teachers designing learning materials shall greatly consider effort regulation and effort management of each learner. When we speak of effort regulation, it is the effort learner expends to reach his or her learning goal, while effort management is self-management and reflects commitment to completing one's study goals. Effort management is similar to volitional control, which is defined as the tendency to maintain focus and effort towards goals despite potential distraction. Materials designed and developed while on pandemic shall enhance the ability of the learner to handle setbacks and failure within the learning process. Thus, teachers must make into account that effort, time consumed and expended on the learning task of the learner is influenced by the importance, usefulness, and the value ascribed to the task. Consequently, creating learning materials takes two sides. Designing materials that takes teachers deep into content and deep into consideration of their students' learning. It goes far beyond selecting activities and writing tests. It extends past the teacher's performance to address the bedrock of the whole educational enterprise that demonstrated student learning. Designing the materials that takes teachers to know what and how students will learn and how teachers and other education stakeholders will know that learners have learned. The option to adapt available learning materials, on the other hand, shall be within the framework earlier stated. In this instance, the use of modules and print materials, like the learning activity sheets, shall also conform at the very least to the following. 1. On the introduction, the rationale and context, the activities to provide for learners to engage with the information and content, the learning opportunities to provide, apply, analyze, or synthesize new information, space or spaces to reflect and activate learners' acquired knowledge, parts offering feedback to learners regarding their learning and accomplishment of module objectives. Lastly, additional resources for learners to extend their learning through enriching activities. Moreover, in the 5 categories, there are 5 categories to facilitate learners' performance in other modalities, and all of these should be observed. We look at the organizational, the technical, the procedural, interactional, and transactional. Organizational category or factor refers to the way in which e-learners develop a plan that permits them to organize their time and manage it in order to comply with the demands of the subject or learning area. On the technical side of it, it is projected that e-learners understand the purpose and function of different information and technology systems, their corresponding applications, in order to eventually troubleshoot and solve any technical difficulties that may arise. If the learners understand how systems operate, apart from getting the know-how to sort situations out, they will be more than likely able to implement emergent technologies that can harmonize with or improve their performance. Procedural, it means that once learners are familiar with the technical implications of the platforms they will use in the process, it is vital that they will follow the instructions imparted by the teacher and or the system to assure that they carry out the specific tasks and routines planned. Therefore, it is important that they have the opportunity. They have that opportunity to explore the system, try out its tools, familiar themselves with the procedures and types of interactions involved, reflect upon their performance, and make any necessary adjustments. Interactional is when we are taking into consideration the different types of interaction as we referred previously on a person-to-person and person-to-group. It is argued that e-learners, as the major participants in the learning experience, be advised to create and maintain an enjoyable and collaborative class atmosphere based on common core principles such as mutual respect, good attitude, clear communication, and appropriate rapport with peers and teachers. Indeed, it is also suggested that teachers have a substantial role to play in modeling and guiding learners towards the acquisition and the development of this philosophy. And finally, when individuals on a transactional basis try to communicate, they do so for 2 main purposes. It's either to exchange information or to establish and uphold social relations. The transactional function refers to the transfer of information and focuses on message rather than on the individual, as it could be in the case of an interactional function of the language. They argue that while interactional language is listener-oriented, the transactional language is message-oriented. Having all of this in mind and realizing that as of now, we have different practices in the distance learning modality. And here we have a list of the so many modalities and the learning resources and our common practices. But of course, we are not precluded to enhance and create or adapt materials that will help learners ably accomplish their learning task. And the following slides offer some basis for us to see how learning resources are developed based on acceptable standards. We are presenting here sample of the MELC, which is specified, and the design follows a structure on how instruction should proceed. The material also provides a description of the parts as a guide for using the material. This is the sample of the SLM for English Quarter 3, Grade 1 for Week 8. The SLM follow the same idea instructional design that we are actually implementing. On the online distance learning or digital modular distance learning, we can see here that pivot modules can be downloaded from DepEd Commons. For online distance learning, other suitable e-learning materials can also be used, provided it conforms to the standard learning agenda and content are free from language, illustrations, and some intellectual property right issues. For some materials here for TB and radio-based instruction, distance learning, and we understand that some of them are localized. It is in the sense that we should be trained on the writing and video shoots so that these learning materials are quality assured. For adoption of the lessons offered by our partners, we need to ensure that this pass the quality assurance process, and of course, there should be MELC aligned. To summarize it all, learning resources are important in instructional delivery. They are mainly used to support teaching and learning process. Resources vary from print, non-print, and online features. It is said that teachers are the best instructional material. This saying is indeed true and ideal. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has opened vast opportunities to develop and improve our educational perspective on or in an unfamiliar manner. Nobody expected that this kind of educational, social, health, and economic challenge would happen in our lifetime. The government, our citizens, educational institutions are not really prepared for this. But despite these challenges, delivery of quality education should not be hampered by this pandemic to achieve sulong edukalidad. Though our weakness in our education system have been exposed due to this pandemic, it however has created opportunities in reshaping our schools and education system at large by shifting to new parameters and paradigms that are more relevant, enduring, and resilient. The current pandemic is not the first and the last, but it has prepared us to future education emergencies. Maraming salamat po. This is R.D. Willie. Magandang araw muli sa lahat.
Thank you so much, Director Cabral, for a comprehensive and brilliant presentation about pivot modules, which I think is an example of concerted effort that aim to provide quality learning resources in different learning delivery modalities. Now, let us try to read some comments of our viewers who answered our questions a while ago. Yan, for question number 1, what specific learning resource like online tool or application have you recently discovered or learned to use this new normal? So some of the responses are, we have DepEd LR Portal, DepEd Common, DepEd Learning Management System. We also have some online application which include Google Apps, Google Doc, Google Sheet, Google Slide. We also have various online activities and assessment resources. And also, if I could read from Ma'am Marie Chris Namango, she mentioned the utilization of Google Meet, Viber, Google Classroom, and Telegram. How about you, Ma'am Anna? Do you have other comments?
All right. So again, thank you so much, Regional Director Cabral, for a thorough and balanced presentation, especially about the guiding principles and considerations in learning resource materials. So let me read some answers or comments from our viewers. From Ma'am Janina Pauline Cardenas, she said that authenticity of learning materials is important in teaching and learning process. From Ma'am Caroline Agron Heron, she said that contextualization of materials is important in the instructional design of learning resource materials. And from Ma'am Loida Mascardo de Serba, each one is unique. Each one has his, her own strengths and weaknesses, which I think this is her primary consideration in preparing her learning resource materials. So thank you so much to our active viewers. We love to hear more insights and feedback from you. Just use the hashtag I support DepEd Teaches, DepEd Teaches Episode 7. You can also share your selfie post while you were listening in today's presentation. So before we end, we have few announcements. For episodes 5 to 7, you will only register once. And right now, you see the evaluation link, which you need to answer and pass at least 75% of the 5-item assessment for you to receive your certificates of appearance and participation. Again, there's only one evaluation for episodes 5 to 7. So the evaluation link will be open starting at 4 p.m. today until tomorrow midnight. So you can start having an access to the evaluation link at 4 p.m. this afternoon. So thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, follow, and share our page, DepEd Teaches. We hope to see you again next Thursday.
On behalf of the Curriculum and Instruction Strand, I hope it has been a meaningful afternoon with us. Remember, here in DepEd Teaches, our mission is empowering teachers, enabling learners. Good day, everyone.